We should start that again. Hey, everybody, welcome. It's Pugs Moran here for the first of what is going to be a daily thing we're going to do. I'm already getting the text. There we go. Here on multiple platforms, which you can see listed on below. You got your Facebook, your Twitter, your YouTube, your web, your all that stuff. This show, for those of you who maybe checked out the test show last night, was I thought it went all right. I did my first test of the 10 o'clock show last night, and I'm going to be doing multiple shows per day, popping in whenever news breaks as well. The first show is going to be this one. It's going to be every day at noon. We'll cover all of the things that everybody is talking about, whether you want to call them trending topics, hot topics, whatever, the things that are going, just sort of preparing you for the next 5-hour work day or 6 hours, 7 hours, whatever it is. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to jump back on at about 10 o'clock tonight, and then we're going to do like a late night talk show, like a nighttime talk show. And it's going to be a little bit lighter. That's going to be a little bit more of a day in review kind of a deal. We'll talk about, see, right now it's hard to really get into stuff. You have to just sort of talk about what is happening. You don't really know how the day went until later at night. So that's the reason for the two shows. Once again, we do have phones. We're going to put those up. Let me see if I can get those for you. All right. So the phone's kind of a janky situation right now. And I don't know that we're going to be taking a lot of calls during this portion of the show. The nighttime show, I think, is when we're really going to concentrate more on calls and guests and lighter topics and that kind of thing. This one is just going to be to sort of inform you. This is like a daily cheat sheet. I'm not sure how long this can go. This is going to go as long as I can rant on each topic that seems to be going around today. So this could be a 2-hour show. This could be a 1-hour show. This could be a 4-hour show. Additionally, with this little project that we are launching here, I'm going to be coming in on breaking news stories. So when something is happening, if something goes down at 5:15 in, let's say, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and it's Iowa, right? It's not Cedar. Yeah, Cedar Rapids, Iowa and Idaho. I get them confused. And I probably shouldn't, since I grew up in Illinois, which is right next to Iowa. I should know that as one of my partner states from growing up. But Iowa and Idaho always seem to confuse me. Cedar Rapids, though, is absolutely in Iowa. If something were to go down there in the 5 o'clock hour, news of national significance, not something locally interesting in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, but something that, maybe the cable news networks haven't got on yet. I hate to be so dark about it, but unfortunately, it seems to me that all the big breaking news that goes around is all sad news. It's all tragic news. It's all what we're going to be doing there is we're going to be sort of giving you all of those breaking events as they happen. So if you want to be a part of that, you can check out one of our, I believe it's, if you go, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to tell you to do it. But if you just go to the YouTube page and you hit subscribe, I know there's an alert there. And the only reason that I say that is because I was inspired to do that, the breaking news angle where we jump in and we just talk about things as they're developing and unfolding, by a guy named Steve Lookner. Now, if you don't know who Steve Lookner is, you should. He's fantastic. He's like some kid, not kid, I'm sorry. I feel old. He's probably a man in his 30s, but he does what is essentially a breaking newscast from his apartment somewhere. And he's got the set. It looks great. He shows up in a suit and tie, and he's wonderful. I believe his page is, actually, I'm not sure what his page is, so I don't. But Steve Lookner is his name. He inspired me. He's a guy who I first discovered a couple of years ago when there was that awful church shooting down in Central Texas, or maybe it was West. I don't. Texas is so big. Wherever it was, forgive me. I don't mean to be dismissive of it, but remember a couple of years ago when the idiot walked in and killed all those people on Sunday morning in church? I just happened to be on Twitter when that happened, and I saw this guy, Steve Lookner, and I clicked on his page, and damn, he had the police scanners going, he had local coverage going, and we're talking about something that the networks didn't even jump onto for like an hour. So that's the inspiration for this. I'm certainly not going to do it the way he does it. He's his own man, and he's a talent in his own right, and he does it his way. He's a little bit more of the traditional, which I like about him, is that he's very straight news type guy. Like, he's not going to give you a lot of cartoonish silliness or fun, which I hope to maybe inject a little bit here from time to time. I am looking at it from the perspective of an observer, from we're all there on the scene. This is happening and we're all seeing it. And hey, what is that guy over there doing? And hey, what was that we just heard on the scanner? Whereas he's more of a legit journalist, which is not necessarily the angle that I'm looking to take. But you can do that as well. So if you're following us on any of the sites that you see listed there at the bottom of the page, you will get an alert when I'm about to go live. And my hope is that at some point you'll go, oh, this must be big, and then so we can go from there. But what we're going to try and do here on this show is just talk about the current events, the stuff that people are talking about right now, whether it's on the Google trends, the Twitter trends, Facebook trends. I don't really know that I'm going to use Facebook trends all that much, and maybe I'll get into that later as to why. But Twitter is also one that I find sketchy at times. I'll give you an example. Twitter right now, let's see what the big trends on Twitter is. It's all divisive. It's just so needlessly divisive. All things that people on Twitter are talking about, and also a lot of K-pop. I don't know if you follow any of the. Okay, when exactly did Korean pop music become the thing that 12-year-old American girls go absolutely nuts for? And not just 12-year-old American girls. I got a 12-year-old American boy who is oddly into K-pop, and I don't even do they sing in English? I mean, do lyrics and poetry and message, does that mean nothing anymore? I don't, or is it just a beat? Is that all we're doing? Is that what it is? I have no idea. So again, what we're going to do here is we're just going to talk about the topics that are trending, and I'll give you an example of why I don't really want to hang out on Twitter. On Twitter right now, the second most popular thing that everybody is talking about is hashtag respect Biden. Just stop it. No. Look, I respect him about as far as I can throw him. I will respect the office, the president of the United States. That's what is an interchangeable cog. The office, the institution is what we need. And I'll tell you, we as a society are heading towards a train crash if we just continue to stop believing in the institutions that made this country great. And I'm not saying that you have to listen to what every politician say. No, the politicians are not the institution. The government is the institution. Is the FBI shady? Probably. In some way. I mean, my God, I've read books on Hoover. I know how sketchy that character was. But I mean, just for us normal people, we have to stop thinking that everybody's out to get us and that we can't believe in anything. And the FDA, the CDC, the World Health Organization, I mean, we're experiencing this right now. We don't know anything about. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a biologist. I have no idea. We have to trust the people that are put in a position. They also have to earn and maintain our trust. It's the onus is on them. They can't be sketchy or wonky or somehow get political. And unfortunately, I think that's what has happened to our institutions in this country. I think that we have been allowed by troublemakers in the media, by politicians with no other reason for saying the things that they say other than placating a base of people who, in many cases, and when you look at the fringe of the right and the fringe of the left, these are some of the lowest common denominator Americans. I mean, that is not, the middle is where we are, right? Isn't that where most of us are? We're not, look, Some of you listening may have been at the Capitol on January 6th. Some of you may have participated in, some crazy anti-police demonstration, which, stop it. That's not what most of us are doing. Most of us are caught in the middle and listening to the wrong people. And that means you don't listen to an Ilhan Omar. You don't listen to a Louis Gohmert. You don't listen. These people are placating a lowest common denominator base. And they've caused us to doubt everything. They've caused us to doubt scientists. They've caused us a couple of years ago. This began a couple of years ago. Do you remember when the flat earthers started to become a thing? And I would say we all laughed, but were we all laughing? I just assumed that we were all laughing when people actually started talking about the earth being flat. I mean, I remember back in the 90s, we laughed at all the people who didn't believe the dinosaurs were around. Those are because we believe the institutions. None of us have advanced degrees in history or archaeology and all that stuff. How the hell are we going to have an informed opinion on what a fossil actually is or was? We have to trust the institutions. We have to trust our educational system. We have to trust our government. And that's a hard one to get past because we've been filled with so much garbage. So this show is going to serve as sort of an end around that. Maybe try and have a discussion in the middle. Try and not be political. Although that's going to be difficult because for some reason, because of the MSNBCs and the Fox News and the OANs and the CNNs and all of these things, everything is now political. I mean, the kind of sort of whether you drink Coke or Pepsi determines whether you are a right-wing guy or a left-wing. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely moronic, and we need to stop it. So with that, we are not going to be covering topics that are trending like respect Biden or dump Trump or any of that stuff. But to that end, also trending, number one, across all boards, we got the Pfizer vaccine. Now, this speaks to what I was saying about trusting institutions. Look, full disclosure, I'm vaxxed. I got vaxxed right away. I couldn't wait to get vaxxed. In fact, my move back to Texas was delayed because I was waiting to get vaxxed because I wanted to get vaxxed in Illinois because that's I just want to come down here without being. I wanted to have that all done when I started my new life and my reinvention. And I got the first shot, and I have gotten many shots in my life. I have measles, mumps, flu shots. I have no clue what they're shooting into my body in any of those things. Yet now, suddenly, we're all microbiologists. We're all pharmaceutical experts. We're all... Come on, man. If your mother, let's put it this way. If your baby, if your child was sick with some disease that you had never heard of, and the doctor comes in and says, this is what we're going to do, you're not going to pull up some QAnon page and tell the doctor why you don't want that cancer treatment for your kid because spoons might stick to you. Are you fucking kidding me, people? And look, I understand in a way the argument about not getting vaxxed. There are people who, I sit here and I say, we all got the mump shot. We all got the... That's not exactly true. I mean, there are a lot of people who have had problems with all of those. And if you have been consistent throughout your life about this feeling about vaccines and shots, then I'll respect you being consistent here. Okay. I would like everybody to get vaccinated simply because it seems like that's the only way we're going to be able to move forward. And Jesus Louises, has this been going on for far too long? When this whole thing stopped, didn't we all think it was going to be like, okay, couple of weeks? I remember the president at the time, the churches will be open by Easter. And we're going on year 2. We're coming up on year 2, and it's not getting better. It seems to be getting worse. And I don't know how diseases work. I don't know how these things mutate. I have no clue. So I have to trust my doctor. And honestly, if you're going to a doctor who is mixing some form of theology and political agenda or political ideology in with his medical advice to you, you need to get a new doctor. Here's a good test. If you know how your doctor voted in the last election, get a new doctor. I would kill to go back to the days when you could turn on the news and have no clue whether the guy giving you the straight dope was a Republican or a conservative. Do you remember those days? Those days are gone. Now it's almost like something that you need to fill out and put on the crown right on the screen before you go on. I am a right-wing guy. I am a liberal lefty. Stop it. Stop. I used to listen to a guy, and I won't give his name because I'm really depressed by him, but I listened to this guy for years and years on the radio, and I always thought he was wonderful, and he was articulate, he was funny, he had the best topics, and all of his topics were interesting, and he revealed himself to be someone who had a good mind. And now in the last 5 years, he's reinvented himself as this far right person, and I can't listen to him anymore because he has made a decision, this famous national broadcaster, he has made the decision that he was going to offend and basically go to war with half of his audience simply for having a different opinion on things like a vaccine. So Pfizer is trending number one today. Apparently, U.S. regulators have given full approval to the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. I assume that had been done before. We're not going to get too bogged down in that stuff. But again, just full disclosure, I got it. All of my friends have it. I don't know what else to say about it. I can't get into an argument about it. No spoon stick to me. I mean, I can try the spoon thing, but it won't work for me any better than it has worked for the people, the wackadoos out there who have tried to do it. And if somebody is making a spoon stick to them on YouTube, they're cheating. P.T. Barnum said a sucker is born every minute, and damn it if he wasn't right. You really want to believe that we're better than that we as rank and file American citizens are somehow able to spot a con, but we can't. And, a guy puts a little bit of adhesive on the back of a spoon and sticks it to his bare chest, and suddenly he gets 1 million shares because he has unlocked the secret. He has uncovered the deep state root. Stop it. This is a guy on Twitter who makes, or Facebook, or YouTube, or wherever he might be. This is a guy who pays his rent by you sharing stuff. Now you got to ask yourself, what are his qualifications? What is his motive here? What is he really, out of the goodness of his heart, trying to save people's lives? Or is he just looking for shares? Is he just looking for clicks? This is the world we live in now. We must be more discerning. All right, also trending today, everybody's talking about Kobe Bryant. Apparently, it's Kobe Bryant's birthday. That's a big one. People love Kobe Bryant. Do you remember? Was Kobe Bryant's death one of those where you remember where you were when he died? I mean, I think maybe if you were a sports fan, you did. If you weren't a sports fan, maybe not. But boy, I do, because I remember getting texts from people right away and then putting on the news, and I believe there was ironically, a helicopter shot of the hillside where Kobe Bryant, good old number 24, 24, 20, or 8, 20, both, right? Yeah, I think he was. I'm not a Laker fan. Bulls. As a matter of fact, I hate the Lakers. But having said that, Kobe Bryant was one of the good Lakers. He's a guy that I think had shown himself in his short but extremely productive life that he was more than just a basketball player. So happy birthday to Kobe Bryant, and once again, best wishes for his lovely, beautiful daughter. Oh, and also, his daughter passed away in that as well. And a couple of other people who, unfortunately, because they weren't named Bryant, we don't know their names, but there were more than just Kobe Bryant died in that car accident. I was once out when I was a kid. With the child of a very famous person. And we were driving, and we almost got into a car accident. And I remember thinking to myself, if I died in this car accident, this person, the child of the celebrity, is the only one that people are going to talk about. There's like 6 of us in this car. There's 6 18-year-olds in this car. And the one that's going to get all the play, we're going to be completely forgotten. So that's sort of what we've done with the Kobe Bryant tragedy. We forgot everybody. It was a tragedy that a lot of families were affected by that. A lot of beautiful young people were killed in that, not the least of which was his daughter. And again, I don't remember her name. I'm not really all that up. Eric Stonestreet is also in the news today. Eric Stonestreet, does the name sound familiar to you? Eric Stonestreet played Cam on Modern Family. He's not dead. You always got to worry about that, right? You know, what is the meme that goes around? Denzel Washington. You know, whenever a celebrity's name trends, and it's not because they died, there's always that Denzel, like, oh, thank God. So he's not dead. Eric Stonestreet is not dead, because that would be a truly sad thing, because he's a young guy. Eric Stonestreet is engaged to, it says here, Lindsay Schweitzer. Now, Lindsay, that's tricky, because is that like a Graham Lindsay, or is that a Lohan Lindsay? Because Eric Stonestreet, I thought he was gay. I thought Eric Cam, you know, big, funny, lovable Cam. She's a girl. It's a Lohan. Eric Stonestreet is not a gay man. I guess you can be gay and marry a woman. Everything is so confusing, folks. Everything is, I don't know. Oh, and oddly enough, a little ad with Dan Levy, the great Dan Levy, the son of Eugene Levy, pops up. He's another one. He's gay, right? I don't know. We don't know anymore. Anyway, it appears that Eric Stonestreet from Modern Family, he is in a heterosexual pairing with a beautiful girl. Yeah, she's beautiful. She's a beautiful young lady. Lindsay Schweitzer. Any relation to the Albert Schweitzers? I don't know. Eric Stonestreet is engaged to fiancée Lindsay Schweitzer. The Modern Family star announced in an Instagram post over the weekend. The couple posed in a series of pictures with Schweitzer showing a stunning ring. Stonestreet captioned the pictures. She said she'd have her people call me. Oh, that's cute. The couple's famous friends weighed in, with Stonestreet's Modern Family co-star Julie Bowen writing, "I honestly don't know who is luckier." Jesse Ferguson, who is gay, right? That was his partner in Modern Family. That was, by the way, now that I think about this, Modern Family was a great show. It was, I guess, again, I guess it's been politicized. Is saying that I enjoyed Modern Family make me something that now you're not going to like me? See, this is not the world we should be living in. Modern Family had some funny jokes, and I'm just of the mind that I don't care who you're sleeping with. I really don't. I never have. It's not a big deal to me. Some people it is. So Jesse Ferguson, who played his husband on the show, wrote, "Jesus Christ, finally." Oh, that's dangerous. Gay man using the Lord's name in vain. Problematic. And, now that we're discussing Modern Family, would Eric Stonestreet be allowed to be cast as Jesse Ferguson's husband in Modern Family today? If Modern Family went into production now, would the producers have been allowed to cast a straight man when there are plenty of gay actors available? That is some bullshit. You cast the actor who plays the role best. You can't have an Italian playing a Mexican. You can't. Of course you can. Of course you can. Anthony Quinn played a Mongolian. Anthony Quinn is, well, now that I think about it, I don't know what Anthony Quinn is, because the last name is certainly Irish, but now that I think about it, he doesn't look Irish. He must be one of them black Irish, the Irish with the Spanish Armada blood in them. So, but again, Mickey Rooney, well, okay, that one makes me a little upset still. That's a weird one. If you've ever seen Breakfast at Tiffany's, you might remember Mickey Rooney played the Japanese gentleman who lived upstairs. And he was always complaining that Audrey Hepburn's character of Holly Golightly was making too much noise or whatever. And Mickey Rooney, who, a beloved American icon, Mickey Rooney would have these pop-in scenes where the party girl Holly Golightly would come home with her boyfriend or whatever late at night, and they'd be drunk and they'd be making noise and they'd be fumbling with their keys and making noise in the hallway. And then Mickey Rooney would pop out from upstairs in a kimono and his hair pulled back like a Japanese guy, and he had big comical buck teeth, and I don't know what they were doing. I don't even think they did anything with his eyes. I think he just made his eyes Asian in form, and then he would do the most. Mr. Golightly. See, I don't want to get myself in trouble here by doing, but I'm showing you how crazy the world used to be and how we used to just let things roll off. Now, that's a little bit cartoonish. Like if I was an Asian person today and they cast Danny DeVito in a remake of Breakfast at Tiffany's as the Japanese upstairs neighbor, I might be upset, especially when Ken, the guy from Community, I can't remember his name, the guy from Community and what else, the Hangover movies, whoever that guy was, Ken. Folks, the show will now be derailed because I'm so undisciplined at this point in my career that I can't move forward until I remember that guy's name. I don't know. Ken Jeong. Thank you, Joel. Joel in the chat room. He just helped me out on that. Ken Jeong. So you want to redo Breakfast at Tiffany's? Cast Ken Jeong as the upstairs neighbor. Not Danny DeVito. Let's not redo the Mickey Rooney thing. But that is the question. Modern Family, could Modern Family be produced today? Could they make that show? I mean, certainly not on Netflix, certainly not on any of those shows. I mean, those platforms, they seem to really be afraid of the mob, the Twitter mob. So anyway, I don't think they would. I do not think that they would be able to cast heterosexual Eric Stonestreet in Modern Family if it was in production today in 2021. But good thing that they did, because he was terrific. Also, another celebrity name, Kobe Bryant. He sadly passed away. Eric Stonestreet, just getting married, not dead, depending on who you ask. But Kelly Preston is trending at number 4. She is absolutely dead. Kelly Preston was John Travolta's wife, I guess famous for being the bitch girlfriend in Jerry Maguire. Kelly Preston, it's hard to think of roles that she was in other than Jerry Maguire. She's done a lot of stuff, but she was in a movie. She was in a movie, one of my favorite baseball movies of all time. And for some reason, whenever I offer this up as one of my favorite baseball movies of all time, I get a bit of an eye roll from people. But there was a Kevin Costner movie called For Love of the Game that came out probably 15, 20, maybe 20 years ago at this point. And it's the story of a pitcher in the twilight of his career, a great Hall of Fame bound pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, although I don't think they got permission from Major League Baseball, so they were probably like the Detroit Firecats or something like that. But he was heading to Yankee Stadium. And again, I'm not sure if they used the Yankees in it, but the entire movie took place during the course of what he believed to be his last game on the mound. So obviously there were a lot of flashbacks there, and it was between he'd be up there on the mound, and another guy would step up to the plate, and he would in his mind be thinking about his relationships with all these fellow baseball players over the years. And it was really just, if you're a baseball fan, it's just, I love it. It's a rom-com. It's half baseball movie and half rom-com. But Kelly Preston plays his girlfriend in it, and I love her in that movie. I just think that she is tremendous. So why is Kelly Preston trending? And this is kind of a downer. Kelly Preston is trending because John Travolta is talking about discussing her death with his son. Ugh. Imagine that. God love any parent that's ever had to do that. God, oh my God. Getting choked up just thinking about it. So that's a tough one. So we won't really, that's why John Travolta and Kelly Preston are trending today. Cardano is trending. I don't know what that is. Cardano Alonso, hard fork. What you need to know. Do we need to know anything? I don't think we need to know anything about that. Hurricane Henry tracker. If you were a news junkie over the weekend, you were ginned up starting about Wednesday about Hurricane Sandy 2. Hurricane Henri was the talk of the nation. It was, they got you. Oh, if you stay tuned here this weekend, here's when it's going to hit. It's going to hit at 8 a.m. on Sunday morning, and we here at CNN or wherever will be covering it live. We're bringing in the A-team. We got Chris Cuomo out on a beach in the Hamptons. Dude probably just walked out his back porch, you know. The camera crew arrives. He's like, go run back. Yeah, we can't have you tracking your filthy, dirty tails through our beautiful Cuomo Hamptons mansion. But it was weird. You know, he's out there and nothing happened. Nothing. Look, there were certainly issues, and there were certainly people who were inconvenienced. And before I say this, I should probably look more into it, because honestly, I bailed out. Once they downgraded it to a tropical storm, I'm like, oh, New York's going to get rained on. Okay. All right, I guess we need to stop everything because there's more than an average amount of rain falling in New York City. That is the East Coast bias, folks. And you know why? Because it's the thing that's on the top of the mind of all of the people who are telling you the news, because that's where they live. That is where they are. So if it's happening in their front yard, it's got to be important to somebody who lives in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, and they've got to stop talking about everything else that's happening in the world, because again, New York City and God forbid the Hamptons are getting an abnormal amount of rain today. Meanwhile, a story that got absolutely no coverage, very little coverage. Like, it was like the afterthought. They do 3 hours straight, excuse me, of coverage about what's going on in Times Square, what's happening in Central Park, what's going on in the Hamptons. And oh yeah, like 20 people are dead in Tennessee because of flooding. But let's go back to the way parties are being canceled in the Hamptons this Saturday night in August. Puffy's white party had to be postponed. Let's go live to the scene and talk to Ana Cabrera, who's come on. The real news story was what was happening in Tennessee. But there was a conscious decision made by people there that, okay, so if we cover the Tennessee story hard, what are we going to get? We're going to get a bunch of rural flyover people, and not even a bunch of, we're going to get like a little bit amount of people that live in those flyover states that nobody cares about. So instead of talking about the actual tragedy that occurred with flash flooding in Tennessee, let's talk about the Hamptons parties being canceled. Let's talk about how our CNN concert was canceled. You know what's weird? If you were watching any of CNN this weekend, and maybe you tuned in for something other than their promised hurricane coverage, maybe you tuned in for the CNN, did you see this? The CNN Welcome Back to New York concert in the park, which I am certain that Clive Davis came to the people at CNN and pitched this, I don't know, maybe May, maybe in March. They didn't just come up with it a couple weeks ago. They planned this massive New York City public gathering in Central Park at a time when we all believed we were through this. We all believed this insane pandemic and this bizarre change of lifestyle that we've all gone through. We thought it was over. So months ago, they started making these plans for this big welcome home. They had no idea that just a couple of weeks later, this would flare back up and we'd have more cases than we have. We'd have problems with ICU beds. We'd have ventilator shortages. All the things that we went through in the very beginning, we are now facing again. And I believe, and this is disgusting, that people at CNN and Clive Davis looked at each other and went, well, we've got so much money invested in this. We just can't cancel. They should have canceled it in July. They should have canceled. They should have looked at the lay of the land and said, you know what? It's a really bad look for us at CNN, who have been, as much as anyone, I suppose maybe the far left station of MSNBC was a little bit more, get your vaccines, let's make this work, let's get through it. But CNN, who have been telling us and preaching to us about how dangerous these mass gatherings are. Look at this. Look at these photos from Sturgis. Look at how disgusting these people are. That was the whole thing. And then they'd go to a commercial break and it'd be like, gather in New York City on August the 21st for a major. Come on. I mean, the level of this, like I said before, folks, we got to be smarter about this stuff. We got to go back to being people who appreciate our ability to spot a con, when we certainly have not been able to do that. Also trending today, Spider-Man No Way Home. Apparently a trailer. This is another thing that always happens. Trailers for like hotly anticipated films. And they're almost always these action movies or these Marvel movies or DC movies or whatever they are. They just trend. And who cares? When I drive past the movie theater or when I'm scrolling through my Netflix account and I see that this movie is available, then maybe I'll watch the trailer and then maybe I'll watch the movie. But you don't need, I don't care that there's a new Spider-Man. If you like movie trailers, there are so many wonderful YouTube sites where you can just spend all day long watching trailers for upcoming movies. So stop screwing up the timelines by promoting your stupid movies that Spider-Man, isn't Spider-Man kind of of the Marvel guys, and my 12-year-old son would disown me for this because Spider-Man, in my opinion, is the weakest. He's like a kid. The guy who's playing him, he's kind of, I don't even know who's playing him anymore. I'm so old. I still think of like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. Is it Andrew Garfield? Is it the other guy? No. Andrew Garfield was before. It's Tom Holtz. No, Tom Holtz was from Animal House and played Amadeus. So yeah, I don't think he's playing Spider-Man. He's like a 65-year-old man now. So there you go. So if you're excited about the upcoming Spider-Man No Way Home film, that trailer is glomming up the works with the trends. Here's an interesting one, and this is a celebrity passing today. Don Everly of the Everly Brothers passed away today. Now, if you're under the age of 50, you may not know who Don Everly was. The Everly Brothers were an incredibly influential two-man duo, singers who had a number of hits in the 1950s. If you know who Simon and Garfunkel is, you should love Simon and Garfunkel, and maybe you should check out the Everly Brothers, because Simon and Garfunkel began their careers as essentially an Everly Brothers ripoff. They even, their early concerts were just filled with Everly Brothers songs, and they even had a hit with "Wake Up Little Susie," which was a big hit for the Everly Brothers back in the 50s. And I believe Simon and Garfunkel had a hit with that in the 60s or 70s. But the interesting thing about that, why should you know who Don Everly is? Because I believe that Don, along with his brother Phil, this very well may be, I'd have to check the timeline. I would have to see if this occurred before or after Elvis shaking his hips on TV. But I believe that the Everly Brothers are ground zero for cancel culture. This thing that we're all dealing with now, because nobody has the balls to stand up to the mob when they misspeak or make a mistake and say, "Hey, I'm sorry, forgive me." And everyone's like, "No, sorries are not accepted. You must now go away. You must lose all of your money." What is the point of that? You gotta, we got to be cooler with people. We got to go, all right. Hey, dumbass, that was a really stupid thing to say, but you apologize. You're not going to make the mistake again. We're good. Go on. I don't like you as much as I did before, but you've got every opportunity in the world to win me back. We don't do that. We don't do that. We just destroy people's lives for absolutely no reason than our momentary shits and giggles. That's it. I forwarded a thing that said that we need to cancel this person, and guess what? Now they've resigned. I feel like I've been a part of something big. Fuck you. Seriously. And I'm sorry. This is, I'm not constrained by language. If you follow my Twitter feed, I do have a bit of a potty mouth, and I'm going to try and tone it down because there's really no reason to be vulgar at noon. Let's save that for after 10 o'clock, the 10 o'clock show, when we're doing a little bit of drinking. But what do I mean by Don and Phil Everly being the first people or ground zero for cancer culture? Well, cancer culture, that's a whole other thing. Cancel culture. And it was because of the song that I just mentioned to you, the song Wake Up Little Susie. Are you familiar with this song? I would love to be able to play it, but unfortunately we don't have the rights. But it's, wake up, little Susie, wake up, boom, 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 boom. Wait, that song was banned from the radio. That song here. Well, I pulled up the page on it so you can. Let me see here. Wake Up Little Susie is a popular song written by Felice and Buludo Bryant and published in 1957. The song is best known in a recording by the Everly Brothers. Let's see, it reached number 1 on the Billboard charts and on Cashbox's best-selling record charts, despite having been banned from radio stations for lyrics that, at the time, were considered suggestive. Okay, so they didn't write the song. The offensive, suggestive lyrics of Wake Up Little Susie wasn't something that they came up with. It was just a piece of material that was given to them by some other awful person who wrote these disgusting, vulgar ideas and put them into motion. No, these guys, they just sang a song, and it's, by today's standards, a ridiculously non-offensive. It's cute. By today's standards, it is a cute song. And why was it banned? Because the song... Now, we're free balling here because I just refreshed the topics and I just look at them and I just sort of riff on what they are. So maybe I have some of the details a little bit messed up. So if you want to correct me on this, please, you can hit one of the chats thing. I'll pull up the chat so you guys can walk me through this. Okay. So the song was essentially about 2 kids on a date at the movies, and apparently the movie was bad, so they fell asleep in the movie, and now everyone's going to talk about how they were fucking. Everybody, oh my God, you can't put that out there. Teenagers don't do that. How dare they put that out there? Or, the other argument is, you put a song out there like this, and this is going to give those kids the idea. What are you insane? You're not going to give. Nobody is giving teenagers the idea to have sex with each other. That's sort of what they say, dyed in the wool. That comes with the package. That is not a bug. It's a feature. It is how the human race has lasted all of these years. We have a thing inside of us that at a certain age tells us, hey, you need to reproduce. You need to keep this human race going. No song about 2 people, and by the way, a really innocent song. So here, I got the lyrics here. I want to read you, and let's see if we can figure out what was so offensive about Wake Up Little Susie. Oh, I should also say that why is he trending? Because Don Everly has passed away. Phil Everly, I thought, passed away a while ago, but again, I'm not sure about that. Wake up, little Susie, wake up. Wake up, little Susie, wake up. We've both been sound asleep. Wake up, little Susie, and weep. The movie's over. It's 4:00 and we're in trouble deep. Okay, first of all, who's running the movie theater where these teenagers are allowed to fall asleep and wake up at 4:00 in the morning? And also, how are they getting out of the movie theater? Don't they lock that place up? Don't you assume that it's locked? You can't just, a lot of questions about this. So it's faulty from the beginning, and we should have just gone, well, it's a stupid song. And Usher would have woken them up. They weren't. Don't they clean the theater? Don't, at closing time, don't they turn the lights on and somebody comes through with a broom? What did somebody go, oh, look at those two kids. That's a weird guy, huh? The guy who sees the two kids sleeping and is like, I'm going to let them sleep. No cameras, so I guess there's no way for him to document that weirdness or perversion, but hey. All right, so we've both been sound asleep. Wake up, little Susie, and weep. The movie's over. It's 4 o'clock, and we are in trouble deep. Wake up, little Susie. Wake up, little Susie. Next verse. Well, what are we going to tell your mama? What are we going to tell your pa? What are we going to tell our friends when they say, ooh la la? You tell them it was a bad movie. You told them it was a bad movie. It's summertime. It's 100 degrees outside. We went to the movie because it was air conditioning. You know, I got a summer job. I'm trying to put my way through college. I've been digging ditches all day. And, you know, Susie, she didn't really get the movie. So she wasn't into it from the beginning because it was, you know, what would it be? Some John Wayne Western. And I passed out. She fell asleep first. And then I saw her and it looked good. I closed my eyes for a minute and boom, it's 4 o'clock and this damn usher is standing over us with his pants around his ankles. What are we going to tell your mama? What are we going to tell your pa? What are we going to tell our friends when we say, ooh la la? Okay, so the suggestion is what people in the 1950s went batshit over. And again, nobody, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your parents, nobody heard Wake Up Little Susie in 1957, and their first reaction was, oh, this is offensive. This is... So, somebody saw an opportunity, probably actually I saw someone who was a DJ in Boston. Oh, DJs. My God, people, I've worked in major market broadcast radio since 1990, since Groundhog's Day, 1992. And never trust a DJ. Don't, please don't ever trust a DJ. A DJ is doing stuff so that you don't turn the dial. A DJ has absolutely no concern for your best interest. He's teasing you. He's telling, you know, it's like when you're watching primetime television and the 7:30 break between shows, they insert some local news bump, right? Where it tells you to stay tuned because here is what you're going to learn at 10 o'clock. And they say something like, stay tuned to Action News at 10 o'clock, where we'll tell you, is there something in your cabinet right now that could kill your pets? Tune in at 10 o'clock. No, tell me not. What the hell is that? What kind of a public service is that? If you've discovered legitimately that there is something in our cupboards, there's something in our cabinets, there's something around our house in everyday life that is going to affect our children or our pets or something like that, don't use it to tease me in order for you to get me to watch your commercials at 10 o'clock. That's the sort of disingenuous stuff that we've had from media, not just recently. It's been going on forever. So back to the Wake Up Little Susie. What are we going to tell your mama? What are we going to tell your pa? What are we going to tell your friends when they say, ooh la la, wake up little Susie, blah, blah, blah. It goes on, next verse. Well, I told your mama that you'd be in by 10. Well, Susie baby, looks like we goofed again. Oh, they've done this before. Oh, okay. So I didn't know this. Okay. So this sort of changes things a little bit. You know, here I'm thinking that little Susie is, little Susie, the sweetest little girl in the world, the girl next door. He's going to marry Susie. And by the way, what's his name? Let's call him Brad. Brad and Susie. He doesn't get a name in this, or maybe he does later. So it sounds to me like they are serial curfew breakers, and they're a little bit concerned. It goes on again. Wake up, little movie. And then the next lyric. Now, this is all you need to know. I mean, if this isn't a good enough excuse for you, then there's a problem with you. The next line is, the movie was not so hot. It didn't have much of a plot. We fell asleep. Our goose is cooked. Our reputation is shot. Wake up, little Susie. And that's basically it. And then it repeats a couple of the verses from earlier. But because of those lyrics, written by someone else, but sung and popularized by the Everly Brothers. And by the way, the way this worked back in the day, the Brill Building, I don't know that they were performers who used Brill Building material. I just assumed that everybody did. The Brill Building in New York City was famous for being where all the music writers were. They had offices, and well, I guess, any depiction I've seen, it's not really an office, but there were like rooms with pianos, and you'd have like a young Paul Simon, playing, ripping out a song, a young Carole King and a Jerry Coffin, in there writing. The Brill Building is responsible for basically every American pop song between 1950 and 1970. So this song was written by someone else. And the way it used to work in that system was there was like a pen, like a livestock pen that they kept the performers, whomever they were, and the real stars were the writers who came up with the material. And then they'd say, "All right, we got this song. Why don't we hand this to? Hey, who's in the pen today? Those two kids, the brothers. All right, let's get them in here. All right, guys, here you go. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. You look over this and into that microphone. I want you to cut this track right here. Boom." And then suddenly they're responsible for the content of some song that they probably hadn't even read or knew about 30 minutes before they recorded it. Okay, so he's gone. That's the point here. And notable, as I said, because Don Everly, I believe, and the Everly brothers, ground zero for what we now call in America cancel culture. Also trending and also being talked about is Chelsea. This isn't Chelsea Clinton. This is the soccer team, Chelsea, the Premier League soccer team. Sorry, football. Football is life. Chelsea team, apparently we don't really care. We can't waste time. 49ers are trending. Kyle Shanahan's not making the announcement as to who is starting for the 49ers. I guess the San Francisco 49ers have the same sort of problem that my Chicago Bears have, which is that they've got somebody who is QB2 who everybody believes is better than the anointed QB1. In Chicago, it's a situation between Justin Fields, who is QB2, and the idiotically and prematurely appointed QB1, Andy Dalton, who is a fine guy. I got no problem with Andy Dalton. Hey, you know what? Last year was a terrible Cowboy season. I watch every Cowboy game. But you know what? Andy Dalton didn't embarrass himself. I mean, the team embarrassed themselves, but it wasn't Andy Dalton's fault. So, look, I'm fine with him. And as far as Jimmy Garoppolo goes, Jimmy Garoppolo is not Andy Dalton. I mean, no, look, Andy Dalton is not Tom Brady or Drew Brees, but he's certainly more accomplished in the NFL as a quarterback, as a dependable, steady field general than Jimmy Garoppolo is. Jimmy Garoppolo's been hurt. He had a couple of flash games, and he seems like a perfectly fine young man. Actually, I take that back. I remember I hate Jimmy Garoppolo because have you ever seen this guy? Have you ever seen Jimmy Garoppolo? Jimmy Garoppolo, I just don't think you should be allowed to be a talented athlete who rises to the level of pro sports and be more handsome than anyone in Hollywood. Jimmy Garoppolo has it all. So I'm not crying any tears for Jimmy Garoppolo if he gets benched. His life has been smoking. His life has been absolutely fine. So yeah, the big debate there. 49ers are trending. Apparently a lot of people are interested in whether or not they're going to start. I almost said Kyle Trask because I'm looking at Kyle Shanahan. But Trey Lance, who was their recently drafted quarterback, over QB1, Jimmy Garoppolo. Cleveland Browns are also trending. Do we care about the Cleveland Browns, especially since this seems to be about a punter or a punt return? I don't care. Miguel Cabrera hit his 500th home run. Now I'm a Chicago White Sox fan, so the Detroit Tigers are a team that I to be honest, I haven't paid much attention to them in the last couple of years. I got a sneaking suspicion that I will be paying attention to the Detroit Tigers in the years to come because that's a team that's rebuilding. That's a team that is not only rebuilding, but they are deep inside their rebuild, and they are looking like they are going to be trouble for my White Sox in the years to come. But Miguel Cabrera, the longtime beloved slugger of the Detroit Tigers, he hit his 500th home run yesterday up in Toronto. And as I said on Twitter last night, I swear I feel like 300 of those home runs have come against my White Sox. But even with that, Miguel Cabrera is one of these guys that no matter how much he has hurt you, no matter how much he has pissed you off, no matter what you've screamed at the television while he was batting in the bottom of the ninth in a game that was tied, he deserves your respect. Miguel Cabrera is a ball player. 500 home runs, that is no small feat. So good for him. Also, we've got another trending soccer story, Real Madrid. Honestly, the description, these names, I can't read them. I don't want to embarrass myself. We don't really care that much about that right now. Anyway, Crate Challenge is trending at number 10. What is the Crate Challenge? Anybody know what the Milk Crate Challenge is? Turning the entire world into Jackass. Oh, okay. Well, doesn't this sound like a radio bit? Let's see what this is. Anybody in the chat room there? Anybody know who or what the Crate Challenge is? Millions of people are destroying themselves in the Milk Crate Challenge. New challenges all the time, but every once in a while, every couple of years, one blows up in a major way, whether it's planking. How long ago was that planking trend? How long ago was that? Was that like probably like 10 years ago? I remember it like became a thing where, what was that? You just lay flat and take a picture? Was that what the phenomenon was? And I remember the ice bucket challenge. That was kind of fun because that was for charity. You know, people dumping ice water over their heads. That was all right. But yeah, planking I never got. So the new challenge is the let's see, the Milk Crate Challenge. Let's see how this is. All right, so this is gonna be one of those YouTube reaction videos. So I'm gonna watch this. Let's see how this plays out. Let me see so I can describe this properly. All right, so there are a bunch of plastic milk crates that a lot of people would use maybe to store their records back in the 70s and 80s. Oh, this is moronic. Okay, so essentially what you do is you need like 40 milk crates, and you create a set of steps that, here, I think I can actually show this to you. Let's try that. Okay. Sorry, folks. Again, a new show, new equipment. I'm just learning how to do all of this stuff. Oh, actually, I can't because I did it wrong. So we're not going to get distracted. And by the way, you don't need to pay attention to this. Essentially, what you do is you get about 40 milk crates and you make what looks like a staircase. The first one, there's one milk crate. And then next to that, there's two milk crates. And then next to that, there's three milk crates. And then next to that, there's four milk crates, five milk crates, six milk crates, seven. It goes on and on and on. I guess it depends on the amount of milk crates you have access to, how high you can get. But it looks like the goal is to try and get all the way to the top. And people are filming themselves attempting it. And the guy that I'm watching isn't making it. He makes it to the four milk crates stacked upon one another before the whole thing just collapses. And he falls right on his tailbone. And not on the ground either. He like bounces off the 3 stack of milk crates before he rolls to the ground. It doesn't look fun. And the dude's wearing a mask, which is odd because he's in his own backyard, and I assume someone he lives with is filming him, or maybe somebody that he has close contact with on a regular basis is filming him, and yet he's a bit what do they call it? Moral scoreboarding, I think. Wear the mask. And this is not an anti-mask guy. I'm not an anti-mask guy. I'm fully vaccinated, and since this latest flare-up, I will grab my mask before I go into a store, and I will put it on. Not because I'm afraid, not because that I believe that it's, some sort of perfect solution to this, but I just do it because at this point, I don't want trouble with anybody. And I think it's more likely that someone will say, you need to wear a mask, than it is someone going, why aren't you wearing a mask? I think so. I just put a mask on because I'm just trying to get in and out of the 7-Eleven. I don't want to have an ideological debate about. I just don't want to do it. Okay, so the Milk Crate Challenge is apparently trending. Now, I am the grandson of a milkman. There was a time in my life where I probably would have had access to hundreds of milk crates. So I could have done this at a time. But where do people get milk crates? Are they even a thing? I don't know. And again, we're talking about well, back in the day, the ones that I remember with my grandpa, they were steel and they were heavy. And I used to have to load my grandpa's milk truck. And I'm like 13 years old trying to lift, uh, 10 gallons of whole milk in some massive crate box. Now they're plastic. They've been plastic for a while. I'm just showing my age again. But where would you get them? I've never been to the dollar store and seen the milk crate section. That's not something I'm familiar with. But apparently, people around the world have incredible access to milk crates in this day and age. I don't believe that. All right, we also got Man United is trending. Who cares? Okay, Man United player ratings versus. See, I don't care. Player ratings, soccer. It's like K-pop. If I see anything with K-pop, soccer, in certain aspects of pro wrestling, I have no interest. The Broncos are trending. Football. Oh boy, can you feel it coming? Football. See, are you excited? Probably not if you're a Cowboy fan. Oh, no, actually, maybe if you're a Cowboy fan. What I should say is you're probably white knuckling it right now if you're a Cowboy fan because of the whole Dak situation. Hey, speaking of a Bear fan, you guys want Nick Foles? You can have him. We'll happily give him to you. Give us a third round pick for him. Come on. What do you guys probably stockpiling? Get Nick Foles. What are you going to go with Gilbert Gottfried or whoever the hell it is you got backing up Dak? No, you guys need an actual NFL quarterback with a couple of skins on the wall. And I think the Chicago Bears can unload you with Nick Foles, a Super Bowl MVP, a Super Bowl champion. Come on, do it. Make the deal. Third round pick. Now, look, I know there's no way in hell anybody's going to give up a third round pick for 35-year-old Nick Foles. It's worth a shot, right? I mean, I personally, I like the Chicago Bears quarterback room. We got Andy Dalton as QB1. We got the future, the franchise, if you will. Soldier Fields, Justin there backing us up at number 2. We're just waiting for him to ascend to the top job. And then the other guy in the quarterback room is Nick Foles. And if you've got a young quarterback, fresh out of college, a lot of hype, a lot of pressure on him, a lot of people with big hopes for this kid. You don't want him to come out there and shit the bed. You would like this kid to learn in a room with a couple of quarterbacks who actually have some stripes. It's not like being in a room with Tom Brady and Drew Brees. It's Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, but still, these are guys that have a little bit of wisdom, I would think, to impart on Justin Fields. So it's good. So I like our quarterback room. Cowboys, third round pick. Come on, Nick Foles. The dude was a Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP. You could tap into that. You don't think he could tap back into that himself playing for the Star? Come on, man. Third round pick. Fourth round pick. All right, if you're going to be a dick about it, fourth round pick. Will you give us a fourth round? Don't even start with that conditional pick bullshit. No, this is Nick Foles. This is a Super Bowl champion. You're going to have to give us something. Trying to think if there's any players off the top of my head that I'd like. That's all right. Okay, so we'll move on from that. That's what's quarterback talk. The Broncos, it's all about Teddy Bridgewater. I don't really care about that. I like Teddy Bridgewater too. I just don't think he's ever gotten a fair shot anywhere. After that is Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is trending. I'm not talking anything about politics. But do you people look at someone who presents like Matt Gaetz and go, oh yeah, he seems straight. He seems like he's giving me the right stuff. That's like building your entire political ideology and worldview around a 30-year-old bartender from the Bronx. Come on, people, be smarter. Matt Gaetz, he looks like a strip club manager. He dresses like a strip club manager. This is a congressman who walks around in these pinstripe zoot suits and crazy wild ties, and he's got hair that says, do not fucking trust me. That dude's hair screams lion sack of shit. So he's trending. I don't know why he's trending. Is he in trouble? Oh no, he got married. Okay, I gotta see what he married, because this is always depressing when I see people who look completely sketchy and dubious of character when I see them with just an absolute piece of beautiful female perfection. Let's see here. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz tying the knot, the Northwest Florida Republican and fiance Ginger Lucky. Ginger Lucky? That's a redheaded stripper's name, right? Is that did he meet her on one of those sex sites that he's so often been tied to? Let's see. Ginger Lucky. You got to change that, right? Well, I guess it's going to be Ginger Gaetz. That's better. That's Ginger Lucky Gaetz. How does that roll? I don't know. But Ginger Lucky, that sounds like now coming to the stage. Ginger Lucky. They got married in a private ceremony. Unfortunately, we live in a time where I imagine it had to be private. If Matt Gaetz had himself some big opulent wedding, I'm sure that there would be an Antifa Proud Boys war erupt right there in the parking lot of the reception. Ginger Lucky, they got married in a private ceremony on California's Catalina Island. Oh, how nice! Catalina Island. That's the other thing about Matt Gaetz. I have a rule. And my rule is I don't trust rich kids. I don't trust rich kids. If you've never driven a piece of shit car, if you've never had to go hat in hand to your parents to borrow a couple of bucks because you couldn't make rent, and by the way, what I mean is, a rich kid, they don't have to go hat in hand because their trust funds are filled up every month. They're given their stipend, their allowance. They can live beautifully. But if you don't know the struggles of being a failure early in life, I can't trust you. I'm sorry. If Matt Gaetz has never exited an event and sheepishly creeped through the parking lot with sweat pouring off of him and fear in his eye and heart because he knew there was a 50-50 chance the car wouldn't start when he got in it at the end of the night, I don't want to know you. That builds character. So Matt Gaetz grew up a rich kid. I guess his family was very politically powerful. He's one of these legacy kids or something like that. He became a congressman simply because his dad was a congressman or something like that. And I don't even know that to be true. I know that he's a rich kid from a really influential Florida family. And so, that's just another reason. But I wish him luck with all things, his new marriage and his upcoming trial for having underage sex with prostitutes. And that's part of it. Do you think he'd have gotten married? Wait a second. Was Matt Gaetz married before? Doesn't he have like a 30-year-old adopted Ricky Martin lookalike as a son? Isn't that a story from a while? I thought he was in a happy marriage with a family. See, this is the thing. I can't get into Matt Gaetz because I end up just trying to pick it apart. But at any rate, don't trust anyone with hair like that, with a punchable face like that, who dresses like a strip club manager. You got to be kidding me. All right, back to the trends. Rod Gilbert has passed away. Now, I don't know who Rod Gilbert is, but my condolences to Mr. Gilbert's family. Apparently, he was a hell of a hockey player, known as Mr. Ranger. He died at 80. He is an NHL Hall of Famer. Then Dak is trending. Dak is trending. Look at this. Dak Prescott. Look around the NFC East. Dak Prescott's injury. Let's see. What are they saying about Dak? What's the latest on Dak? I'm going to have a cup of coffee. Let's see. The Philadelphia Eagles have hit a little bit of him. We don't care about the Eagles. Look, I don't think there's any new breaking news about Dak Prescott. If there is, you can let me know in the chat room. I'll be happy to go it. But it's nice to see Dak getting a little bit of Twitter love, a little bit of the Google love, a little bit of the trend love. Mike Trout is also trending. Mike Trout is widely considered to be California Angels center field, widely considered to be the greatest currently active ball player, which, really? Is he? I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. Man, a team in baseball that wouldn't like a Mike Trout out there patrolling center field. well, not me. He'd have to move positions because we've got a guy named Luis Robert who, if you listen to Eloy Jimenez, he's going to be Luis is going to be the next Mike Trout. So he's going to be our center fielder. But there's no team that wouldn't want Mike Trout. I just wonder if sometimes Mike Trout's status in Major League Baseball isn't a little bit of throwback love to him. And what I mean by that is, I mean, don't we have to have one white guy who's like really good at sports? Like, isn't it? And is that why everyone? Oh, Mike Trout, Mookie Betts is pretty good. You also got Cody Bellinger, who had a hell of a year last year, not such a great year this year. But I mean, let's really take a look at who we're going to call the default best player in baseball. It very well might be Mike Trout. Very well may be. He's certainly one of the top players in baseball. And let's see, Savannah Bananas is also trending today. College athletes navigating NIL. These are the new college athletes get money. So college athletes can now make a little bit of scratch, right? That's probably how it was put down on paper. Come on, these kids, they can't even afford their off-campus rent. We got to give them a little something. You got to be freaking kidding me. Madison Avenue, the American corporate advertising complex, is not going to give these guys a couple of bucks to make their rent. They are going to exploit the hell out of whoever the next freshman Alabama quarterback is, or whoever the first guy is in this upcoming season who really breaks out of the pack as the Heisman candidate. These guys are going to be millionaires instantly. In fact, it was Nick Saban, Alabama head coach, who just a couple of weeks ago was talking about his incoming quarterback, how he has already signed for like $1 million in advertisements. Capitalism, right? I mean, I guess you gotta let the market dictate what people are going to earn. And I don't ever want to take money out of somebody's pocket. But when I thought about, let's get some of these college athletes a little bit of dough, I wasn't thinking that they were going to get paid more than the head coaches. I wasn't thinking that we were going to turn 18-year-old freshman, unproven quarterbacks into millionaires. I mean, first of all, could you imagine dealing with that kid in a restaurant? Could you just imagine, like, you don't know who he is, but he's there and he's making a scene because something didn't go the way he wanted. That kid's now a millionaire. That kid's this is madness. We are. I don't know that an 18-year-old kid, and I might be wrong on this because I was reading something where there was an idea that the payments could be deferred or they could only get a portion of it but I think that might have been if they weren't 18 at the time, because there was a number of college players who end up beginning their college careers at 17. I don't know. I'd have to look into it, but it just seems a little bit strange to me that we're now. He hasn't played we used to say he hasn't played a down in the NFL. He hasn't played a down in Division I college football, and he's already pocketing $1 million from advertisers who want to use his name. And when I say exploit him and use his name and all that stuff, look, exploit me. I'd be happy to be exploited, but that's me. And maybe that's not everybody. Maybe that's not the way his parents want, things to play out for him. Maybe that's not something that's in his best interest because of, past behaviors. Because look, I'm sure you all know a 17, 18-year-old kid who in no way, shape, or form could handle a sudden bank account with $1 million in it. It's a little troubling to me. But, there you go. All right, let's see if anything has changed over on Twitter. Those are basically the things that are trending right now on Google. We'll do a quick refresh to see if there's any other hot topic that we can talk about here. Oh, and also, I should tell you, we're going to do this again at 10 o'clock tonight. The 10 o'clock show isn't going to be so much of a daily conversation about the topics that everyone's. It's going to be more of a day in review. It's going to be a little bit more conversation. We'll take more calls. We'll have guests. I may have co-hosts. But this is almost always going to be sort of a noontime rundown for you, a briefing, a daily briefing on everything that's happening. Did we ever find out what Cowboy Bebop was? I don't know that we did. All right. All right, let's see what's happening over here. Well, I said I wasn't going to go into the Twitter trends, but why not, right? Why not check it out? Let's see what they're talking about over there. Oh, this was trended. This is of interest to me and probably a couple of Chicago Bear fans who might be listening. The Oakland Raiders, Khalil Mack is trending, which this morning when I woke up and saw Khalil Mack trending as a Bear fan, oh God. Is this how today is going to start? That's what I thought. Is this how today is going to start? What? He break his knee? Well, what's going on? Is Khalil Mack now going to be hurt for the first 10 weeks of the season? No. Khalil Mack is trending because apparently the Oakland Raiders, who the Chicago Bears traded for Khalil Mack with 4 years ago now. It might be 4 years. And then the Bears signed him to, I believe, the largest deal the Chicago Bears have ever paid anybody. That'll be topped by Justin Fields. Here's hoping, kids. But has become the anchor of the Chicago Bears defense, the mentor and a big brother type to all of the younger developing players, your Roquan Smiths, your Eddie Jacksons, your Jalen Johnsons, what have you. The Oakland Raiders want him back. That's why he's trending. There are reports out that the Oakland Raiders reached out to the Chicago Bears, General Manager Ryan Pace, inquiring about the possibility of trading back for Khalil Mack. And it's trending mostly because people find that humorous. People like, that's going to happen. Ha, ha, ha. But as a Chicago Bear fan, I'm like, wait, hold up. Well, what do you want to give us for him? I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, if the Oakland Raiders want to give up 3 or 4 first-round picks over the next couple of drafts, let's talk about that. Because although I am a Bears fan, the Chicago Bears have had legendary, historically successful NFL defenses long before Khalil Mack, and I have to believe with the city's penchant for defense, they'll have it again. So let's, and my Bear fan friends, they always get angry at me when I say this, but he hasn't been dominant. I mean, he's been great. He's been very good. He's been one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. But where did it get us? What are we talking about here? And I love the YouTube clips of Khalil Mack squaring up with a 320-pound tackle and just throwing them like with ease. And there's no doubt Khalil Mack is a freaking beast. But let's not just dismiss it and laugh about that. The Bears would never do that. What do you got for me? What are you willing to give me for Khalil Mack? We should at least talk about that because the Bears have no first-round picks for like the next decade and a half. Maybe it's time we try to get some of those back. We traded a lot of first-round picks because of Khalil Mack and then because of Justin Fields and just a whole bunch of, I'm not going to say stupid because who am I to pretend to know more than an NFL general manager? I don't even know how to play fantasy football, so I'm going to leave that out. But let's talk about this. What are you going to give us? Yeah, all right. What kind of draft picks do you, the Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders? Look at me. I keep saying, and not only that, Los Angeles Raiders. They were the Oakland Raiders. Well, of course, we all know they were the Kansas City Raiders back in the 1940s, and then they moved to Oakland and became the Oakland Raiders. And no, they were never in Kansas City. That was an Oakland A's joke. I believe they were the Kansas City A's, and before that, the Philadelphia A's. So let's see what they got. Casey Musgraves. She's trending in music. Do you guys know who Casey Musgraves is? I mean, I'm talking to people in Texas, so obviously you do. But anybody else who's listening, man, oh man, do I love her. She is so awesome. She's a little country music singer from somewhere here in Texas. I'll tell you what's cool about her is that she ain't Carrie Underwood. She ain't Carrie Underwood, but she also ain't one of these like, the kind of girls there's different kinds of females in country music. You've got the virginal girl next doors, your Carrie Underwoods, those kinds, and then you've got the chicks who can burp the alphabet. Those girls, the country music girls who are like, yeah, this is it's not really her whole presentation is not something that I find particularly feminine or interesting to me. But Casey Musgraves, however, she is a bit of an outlaw, I guess. That's where I would categorize her, Casey Musgraves. She is the girl next door, with the quick wit and the attitude and the belief, the solid belief in what she believes, and she's not afraid of the Nashville system, and she's a very cool woman. Casey Musgraves announces her release date on her next track. Track list for, I guess she's got a new album coming out. Okay, so very good for her. Anything else? Nah, pretty much all the same things. There's nothing really big happening. Oh, this is interesting. I saw this earlier this morning. And I have to say that easily 30%, maybe. Of all of my friends here in Texas, I would say a very large portion of them are Latino. They are Mexican. My friend Aaron is Cuban. But maybe that's not Latino. Maybe that's something else. Maybe that's... Anyway, I don't know. I'm a middle-aged white guy. I mean no offense. I don't know what we're supposed to call or identify these groups as. If you're telling me that I can't identify anyone at all by their ethnicity, I'm going to resist that, because there's nothing wrong. I'm Irish, right? So I'm 100% Irish. That's all I am. I like being Irish. Might be interesting to try something else. Might like to be a Jew for a couple of years, see what that whole culture is like. But I'm Irish. I'm Irish Catholic. That's how I was raised. That's what my background is. I am fascinated by other people. If I were to look at somebody who has exotic features and say, "Ooh, what is your background? What is your ethnicity?" And then to have them get angry at me, why are you getting angry at me? I'm a nice person coming at you with no malice, who's sincerely interested in you. I am asking you about you. So that's what's going on with this Latino X. Or I'm sorry. So, oh boy, don't cancel me because I put an O between Latin and X. Latin X. And maybe in some of the chat rooms, some of my... I don't know what to call them because it's trending, because you can't call them Latino, Latina. I don't know. That's always seemed fairly safe ground. If any of my Latino or Latina friends can help me out here and tell me what this is all about. But now we're supposed to call them, us and them. No, we're supposed to call people of that heritage, of that ethnicity, Latin X, and I don't know what that means. A discussion is underway about how people of Latin American heritage should be referred to, after LA Times columnist Jean Guerrero referred to them as Latino and young Latinx. Okay. What is Latin? You can't do this, people. You can't. We all have lives. We are all distracted by our sick kid, or our dick boss at work, or why is my dog limping? We have lives that we live. We cannot be constantly updating our database of what to call people. Can we settle on something that is non-offensive, nothing pejorative? It's just a word to refer to a group of wonderful people, for the most part. Let's be honest, there are assholes in every ethnic group. But now apparently Latin X. If anybody, I'm trying to find if I got anybody in the chat room. I'm still having difficulty figuring out how to do this. But yeah, so apparently, but you know what this is? We hear it all the time. James, my buddy James Garcia, he's in the chat room right now on Facebook. What are you? What am I supposed to call you, James? Honestly, I'd never call you anything. But if you were standing next to a redhead and a black guy, and which one are you talking about? I'd say, the Latin guy, the guy that's not the redhead and not the black guy. And can I call him a black guy? Every time I see, I watched the Trump rally on Saturday, and I watched pieces of it. And there was a guy there with a shirt that said "Blacks for Trump." A black guy, blacks for Trump. And I'm like, ooh, that just hit wrong. I'm like, that just seems wrong. Look at them blacks over there. That doesn't seem right. But saying, hey, go ask that one over there. Which one? The black guy. Is that wrong? I mean, is that something that we all need to be worried about? Because I honestly don't know. Now, I know it gets tricky when we start talking about Asians. What are we supposed to... I don't know. The Japanese guy. I'm Chinese, you bigot! Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything by it. The outrage culture is something that we really need to kick in the ass and get it out of our everyday life, or else I'm telling you, we are going to be flushed down the toilet. 1,000 years from now, the people with tails and gills that are occupying the space that we currently reside in, they're not going to remember a goddamn thing about us if we continue down this road, because they're going to erase our nonsense from the annals of history. Come on, people, let's be better. Let's leave a better legacy for future societies, for future evolutions of the human species. Totally lost my chain of thought here, because what else is happening? Yeah, there's a Catcher in the Rye is trending. People share their opinions about those will be good. People sharing their opinions about J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. Full disclosure, I've never read the book. I know who J.D. Salinger is. I think I may have. The book is so omnipresent in literate society that it's almost impossible to go through your life without knowing what the book is about. Especially being a Beatles fan, a John Lennon fan. Catcher in the Rye was the book that his assassin had in his pocket when he killed him. So they tried to say, see, Catcher in the Rye is responsible for Mark David Chapman killing one of the Beatles. Stop it. Again, it's a work of literature. Be responsible with it. There's no book you're going to check out of the library that's going to instruct you to go kill a Beatle. That's just not going to happen, and that's on you. So let's stop blaming the book. But people are discussing Catcher in the Rye. People share their opinions about J.D. Salinger's 1951 novel, The Catcher in the Rye. Do I dare click? Do I? Is this something? Are we even remotely interested? Why not? We got a little bit of time here. All right. Bailey Myers. Here's her hot take. Bailey Myers' Catcher in the Rye discourse is exhausting. It's a good book. I'm sorry you didn't understand it because you were forced to read it when you were 15 and hadn't developed empathy yet. All right, Bailey. All right, that's the first one. People are discussing. All right, I'm with her. I'm with Bailey. Totally get that. But she's responding to someone named Rebecca Fackner. And she says she's posted, what is the worst piece of American literature and why is it Catcher in the Rye? Did you see what I did there? It's like I asked you, but then I told you what I expect you to say, or else I'm canceling you and I'll be outraged. Rebecca, dial it down, sweetie. Okay. The Catcher in the Rye is the worst piece of American literature. What are you trying to do, Rebecca? What you just trolling? That Rebecca is a totally no. She looks like your friend's mom from high school. She's a little bit overweight. She's got a little short mom redhead bob cut. And she's out there. This is like a 45-year-old woman, probably mother of 5, den mother to a Cub Scout troop. She's up there stirring up the shit on Twitter. What the hell has happened to us? This woman shouldn't even be on Twitter, but she is, and she's putting shit out there like, What is the worst piece of American literature, and why is it Catcher in the Rye? I want to see what the consensus is here. What are people saying? Are they defending it or are they getting hours? Catcher in the Rye is a story about a kid losing his little brother, dealing with implied sexual assault, and having so many issues that he hires a prostitute just to talk. And that's being dismissed here because, quote, he's a whiny rich white boy. You people's brains are effed. All right, well, that's from Strat. That's him chiming in. I'm not really seeing many people who are offended by Catcher in the Rye. It seems to be most people are just trying to scoreboard people who are, but there's far more people who seem to be of my mind that it's a book. You either like the book or you don't like the book. It's not something that is abjectly influenced our culture to the point where we need to erase it from, all this. Stalin, can't believe it. I can actually hear people clicking out of this right after I said, Stalin, and now I'm going to go into. There was a thing called making someone a non-person back in the communist days, and making someone a non-person was if you acted in a way that the state, and back then the state was comprised of Joe Stalin and his mustache, if those two guys thought that you were doing something against the state, you were turned into what was known at the time as a non-person. Trotsky was a very good example of someone who was turned into a non. Solzhenitsyn, I think, was another person who was turned into a non-person. And what that means as a non-person is anything that you did in your country, you could be the most famous person. Your record of accomplishment, your record of, well, maybe you've created works of art. Maybe it's all wiped away. The state comes in and they get rid of it all. Every book in a school that a child might learn from will not have your name in it. And obviously, that's a ridiculous. What do they say about history? You remember history or you're doomed to repeat it. Obviously, Joseph Stalin and the non-person program that they had in communist 1940s, 30s, and 50s Russia, Soviet Union, excuse me, was sort of on that line. And that's very similar to what we're trying to do with cancel culture. We talked about... I was going to say in an earlier segment, but with no breaks, we don't really have any earlier segments. We talked about Don Everly passing away and how I believe that he is ground zero for cancel culture here in America. I mean, could you imagine if America back then, that was also cancel culture in Russia, the non-person program. Imagine if we had erased. Do you remember the burning Beatle records and stuff like that? Okay, so imagine if Joe Stalin was in charge and we had a non-person program in this country. Here we would be in the year 2021 of our Lord. We wouldn't know who Elvis Presley is. We wouldn't, because we would have never seen clips of him on television. We would have never heard people talk about him. His records would have not been available, all because Stalin would have decided that he didn't exist. So that was, hold on a second. So that was something that we didn't start. And honestly, my frame of reference goes back as far as that, the non-person program. But in America, ground zero for cancel culture was, I believe, the Everly Brothers and the banning of the song Wake Up Little Susie. And now there are people who would just like to see if they could get Catcher in the Rye in trouble. Just let's jerk over the Steinbeck estate. Let's make sure that, like they tried to do the Dr. Seuss. Remember that? Remember a year ago? What was that about? What was it? Was it Cat in the Hat gay? I don't know. I mean, why there was a problem with Dr. Seuss? And although that was a right one, see, now a lot of these are just like, I seem to think a lot of cancel culture seems to come primarily from the left, and I think that because the left seems to be the group of people most interested in moral scoreboarding. And what I mean by that is they like to pretend that they are morally better than you because they've noticed something that you've ignored, and now they're going to point it out that you've been doing this, and if you don't stop it, you are going to be less than me. And then, of course, the reaction to that is, fuck you. And then we have social media, Twitter fights and Facebook fights and all this stuff. It's absolutely ridiculous. But Catcher in the Rye is now in the crosshairs of some people. And by the way, when I say the cancel culture seems to be most prevalent among the left, it is true. But let's not kid ourselves. I mean, the right will cancel anything. I mean, I'm going to make a list. Maybe we'll do it in a 10 o'clock show. I'll make a list of things that have been attempted to be canceled, and then we'll try and guess who tried to cancel them. Was this a right thing or a left thing? But what really irritates me about the left and this whole cancel culture thing is that they're the ones who are like me. They would be with me right now, screaming about how this is madness. This is ridiculous. You people are ruining the world that we live in. They would be with me in that take. But then they would turn around and be like, cancel Eric Stone Street because he married a woman and we all thought he was a gay man. And how can you know what I mean? It's like, it's ludicrous. Not that the left's attempted cancel culture aren't ludicrous, but it's all idiotic. Nobody is worse than anybody else. I'm just trying to say that I didn't mean to strictly blame the left for cancel culture, not cancer culture. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a minute here. There's really nothing else. I'll refresh, and if anything really big comes across, I'm still finding my way through this. This is the first actual discussion talk show, midday current events kind of thing. We're going to do it every day right here. I see what I'm doing. We're getting some of these things on here. Sorry, folks. Yeah, we'll put that. I'm going to get so smooth at doing this, at updating the screen and showing you what you need to know. We're going to be doing this show at noon every day, thanks to the RadioMisfits.com. You check that out. It's an incredible collection of podcasters and shows curated by one Ed Silla, who is one of the groundbreakers in the world of podcasting and podcast distribution and all that kind of stuff. So I'm blessed to know him. He didn't discover me and say, "Hey kid, let me give you a shot." I just happen to be friends with him. I'm lucky enough to be friends with somebody who's really big on all of this. So Radio Misfits is our home for this. So please, if you want to check out some podcasts, there's some stuff there. And I'm going to try maybe on the 10 o'clock show to feature some of the people who are doing shows, because there are so many talented people over there. There's a lot of people who are doing really interesting stuff over there at RadioMisfits.com. So we're going to be doing this show live streaming every day at noon. And then we're going to do it again at 10 o'clock tonight. And as I said, also, whenever breaking news happens, so it sounds like one of those commercials or promos for your favorite news station when big news happens. So if you go to any of the sites that you see down there, you can follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, YouTube. You go to the web, pugscast.com. You will receive a notification if you allow the notifications whenever something big happens. And by that, I mean some sort of breaking news that maybe CNN isn't covering yet. But I have determined that, this is going to be big. Let's jump on this now. So it'll be a way to jump in and watch the story as it unfolds with commentary. I mean, certainly, but without judgment. That's an important part of what we're trying to do here. Many of you may have been listeners to my talk show here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex for many years on 105.3. We did a midday talk show. I like to think that it wasn't divisive. It was occasionally vulgar, certainly silly. I think there were a lot of nice moments. I don't mean to completely take a shit on what we did. I mean, as I said last night in the show, I'm proud of what I did. Also ashamed of some of the stuff that I've done. I've listened back to things now as an older, more evolved, more mature person and gone, ugh. how the hell could I have done that? And I know why I did it. I did it because, hey man, this is funny. Hey, who cares if I'm really humiliating this very nice person who doesn't deserve this kind of treatment, but I'm doing it because, hey man, I'm a shock jock. There's a lot of that stuff in the past that I don't really, not the kind of stuff that I'd want my 12-year-old son to be listening to, because he's a smart kid and he'll listen to it and he'll go, "You're an asshole." So if back then you thought I was an asshole, yeah, man, I agree much of the time. I don't think all the time. I think that I was a pretty decent person from time to time. But man, that was a weird sort of vacuum, the 105.3 days. It was Howard Stern and then Russ Martin and Kelly and I were brought in theoretically to be the nice show, to be the show that advertised. When advertisers went, "I don't want to be on the Howard Stern, Russ Martin," they could say, "Oh, but look, we've got these two nice Midwestern people who are just sort of doing conversational chemistry talk, and they're talking about their girlfriends and they're talking about their kid." So that was really our job. But unfortunately, as I said, we existed in a vacuum there. We did a lot of stuff that I'm probably not going to replicate here on whatever it is that we do here on this show. But again, you can check us out every day at noon here for the live topics of the day conversation. And you can come back again at 10 o'clock tonight when we'll do a little bit more lighter stuff. We'll do fun stuff. Like tonight, here's what I want to do tonight. We're going to talk about shit that we're watching. I'm a big television guy. I love television. I believe that we are in the golden age of television production. We are now living in a world where whatever the latest 10 episode show that debuts on Netflix, Prime, Hulu, whatever it is, we are living in an era where that show is probably going to be better than next year's Academy Award winning film. That never happened before. You used to say, that show was good. It's almost film quality. Well, now it's like you see a movie and you go, it was good. It was almost Sopranos quality, or, it was good. It was almost Peaky Blinders quality. So I'm a big fan of this era of television in particular. I mean, I've always been a fan of TV. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I watch the Dukes of Hazzard, so it's not like my standards are super high. But I do want to dedicate a little bit of time, especially at the end of the night, talking about those kinds of things. The things that we are entertained by, as opposed to the things that we are divided by. So tonight at the 10 o'clock show, I'm going to get into the Emmy nominations. We're going to go through the lists. We're going to talk about all the different shows. I want to hear your favorite shows, all of that good stuff. And we'll just sort of trade. We'll trade. What should I be watching? What should you be watching? We'll do that. There's also something that I want to do later tonight. I'm going to put this up on the Facebook page and also on Twitter. I saw this trending when I first woke up this morning. Red flags, green lights. Here's what I mean by that. And maybe those of you who plan on joining me again at 10 o'clock tonight, you can think on this now. You can spend all day thinking about it and then just blow my doors off with your incredible wit later tonight. Red flags. Like when you meet somebody, what is a red flag? When you meet somebody, what's a green light? Like what is something that they're into? And it can be music, TV, whatever it is. One of the ones that I thought was funny was, this girl said that a red flag for her is guys who like Fight Club, the movie Fight Club. And at first I didn't get it because I also like Fight Club, but I don't know if I was on a date with a woman, a new woman who I just met, because that's what the red flag, green light thing is all about. People you've just met. These are first impressions. These are snap judgments. I don't know that I would open up with, "Hey, you want to get a drink and go back to my place and watch Fight Club? Hey, who wants to watch Meatloaf get his ass kicked?" I can see how that would be a red flag. It's a little bit too much testosterone in that, a little bit too violent. I think people who endlessly quote Tyler Durden lines from the movie or whatever, I think they're borderline psychopaths and should be put on a list and monitored. So that's an example of what a red flag is for someone. A green light. I tried to give an example of a green light. Hate to be divisive, but the first green light that pops into my mind right now is, are they vaxxed? Or at the very least, are they not a science denier? I mean, if you tell me, "Are you vaxxed?" "No, I'm not vaxxed yet." "Well, why aren't you vaxxed yet?" "Well, I just honestly, I've been busy." You give me an excuse, but don't the red light for me in that are you vaxxed or not would be, well, I don't believe it because spoons stick. I'm like, okay, red light. The green light is, yeah, I'm gonna give. I've got my first shot and I'm waiting on my second shot. That's a green light. That's a very, and again, not to be divisive, I just don't know anything about that stuff. And I feel we must in some way respect the institutions, respect your doctors, respect the scientists, respect what those people say, not what somebody on YouTube showing you how a spoon sticks to their chest. I, you know, I can't, I'm not a doctor. I don't have time for all that. I don't even know what to call Latino people anymore. How am I supposed to suddenly know all about what I'm sticking in my veins? I've gotten lots of shots. Okay, so that would be a green light for me. If someone told me that they were either vaxxed or they're getting vaxxed. And it's not a red light if you're not. See, that's the other thing. This is not a black and white issue. There are reasons that people have talk to people. Don't. One of the one of the shows that I will be talking about tonight, especially when we go through the Emmy nominations. One of the shows that I'll be talking about is Ted Lasso, and if you follow me on either Facebook or on Twitter, you know that this is too early, way too early. I mean, we're like, a couple episodes into season 2, way too early. It's the greatest show of all time. I'm not going to be hyperbolic like that because there are so many terrific shows. But Ted Lasso is the very first show that I watched that when it was over, and I watched it with my kid, that when it was over, I went, I need to be a nicer person. I need to be nicer. I need to be. And so to that end, one of the things that he taught us in that show was don't be judgy. Don't, you tell me that you're not vaccinated. I'm not going to completely jump off a bridge and call you a fool. And I can't ever. Don't judge. Be curious. Be curious. Ask people questions. Really? Okay. I mean, hey, you very well may get to a point in the next couple of questions where you decide that, yeah, okay, I was right initially. But you're not brilliant. You're not a psychic. You can't predict what people are going to tell you. Talk to people. We need to just talk to each other. And you can then take what they tell you and decide for yourself whether or not, based on your life experience, your wealth of knowledge, whatever it is, whether or not to think that's a respectable point of view. And then you make your decision. But don't just, oh, what, you're not wearing a mask? You put that mask on. Shut up. Leave them alone. Ask them a question. Talk to people. This is what we need to do. And that's what I call the Lasso way. So those are some of the things we're going to talk about tonight in the 10 o'clock show. I might have a couple of guests. There's a couple of things that I'm working on, a couple of people from the past who you all might know and remember from the old shows that we used to do on 105.3. We might have some people popping in. We might also have some local Dallas-Fort Worth luminaries pop in. Who knows? We're gonna make the 10 o'clock show a little bit lighter, a little bit funner. The noon show is for coffee. The 10 o'clock show is for hard alcohol and spirits. So that's what we're going to do at 10 o'clock. So we'll get into the television suggestions. We'll talk about TV. We'll talk about all of that. We'll go through the Emmys. We'll talk about all of that stuff. And additionally, I want to hear your red lights and green lights. When you meet somebody, what is something that they can say that would be a red light or a green? No, I'm sorry. It's red flags and green lights. That's what it is. What is it that would be a red flag and what is it that would be a green light? So be thinking about those because I'm going to read some of them. I'll put a post up on the Facebook page and you can find the Facebook page right there on the screen. Oh, I've been talking nonstop for 1 hour and 48 minutes. I don't know. Anybody can stand. Did I scare everybody off? Is there anybody still hanging out in the chat room? Okay, let's delve into some of the people in the chats and what they're saying. By the way, we've got a bunch of chat rooms there. You got the Facebook, the YouTube. I am seeing a correlated mishmash of all of the platforms. So if you're watching on one platform and you don't see the person whose question I'm addressing or the person I'm talking about in the chat, that's simply because they're in a different chat room than you are. They're on a different platform. So John O'Connor, he looks to be on Facebook. He says, my wife, born and raised in Mexico, says Latina/Latino or Hispanic is completely acceptable and non-offensive. At least that is what she tells this Irish mix. See, I used to say that's an interesting point. John O'Connor. John O'Connor married to a Mexican woman, a Latina. But again, see, I always thought that Latina was for a young Latin woman. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know. I typically don't go, hello, my Latina friend. The Irish thing. See, that was very self-effacing. He's talking about how his wife is not offended by any of the, hubbub that's going on Twitter right now over Latinx being the new term demanded by the unruly mob that we refer to Hispanic, Latino, Latina people. He and his wife are totally fine with it, and he takes a shot at his own ethnicity, his own heritage, his own culture. And that's the thing that I've always... I'm an Irish Catholic, and I'm a big fan of Notre Dame because you have to be. When you're born, you are basically indoctrinated, especially if you're from the south side of Chicago. You have no choice but to be a Notre Dame fan. The Fighting Irish. Now, I know a lot about Notre Dame, and the idea of the Fighting Irish. Now, of course, there are teams that have the Fighting Tigers, fighting woodchucks. That's sort of a normal thing. But it's possible that the Fighting Irish might predate that. And anyway, it's not used in the same way. The term Fighting Irish was created and applied to the Notre Dame football team, not because they fight on the field, not because they'll fight you to the end zone, not because of that, not because they've got no quit in their fight. That's not it. No, it's because Irishmen back in the day were, well, John L. Sullivan was the heavyweight champion, and they dominated heavyweight boxing, but also because Irishmen were known to be drunks who started fights in bars and were always looking to brawl and always, that's where it comes from. That's an insult. That is, as a modern Irish, what do you mean fighting? Oh, I suppose all we do is fight. Well, you know what? Yeah, you want to say something? No, we're not. See, that's where you get to. Everybody has a hot temper. Nobody's more prone to fighting than any other group. Although I have a lot of Jewish friends. None of them are fighters. None of them are. I love Quentin Tarantino, and the Bear Jew in Bastards is one of my favorite characters, even ever so briefly. I've never really seen that in the wild. I've never seen a Jewish guy who was a fighter. Now, I've known Jewish guys who were lovers. I've known Jewish guys who were brilliant. But yeah, I guess you can't really... The fighting Jews, that's not really a thing. Is it? I'm trying to think. I don't think it is. All right, so John O'Connor talking about taking a shot at himself. As an Irish person, I'm a drunk. I beat my wife. I'm stupid. I am really, those are all of the pejorative sort of ribbons and medals that have been pinned to the chest of Irishmen forever. I'm 100% Irish. It's 2021. It doesn't bother me. And now I also understand that it doesn't bother me because in addition to that, I'm also a white man in America. And I do understand that there have been times when, not being a white man in America, we may still be in those times. Again, I'm not trying to be divisive. I'm just working through life live on the stream here. Maybe I don't have the sort of history of oppression where I would be offended by. Like maybe I can laugh it off because I come from a place in America where Irish Catholics ruled everything. The city of Chicago for 50 years was run by a ruddy-faced Irishman named Richard J. Daley. So maybe I never had the background of oppression to now be offended. I'm trying to understand it. Uh, I'm trying to get why certain people are so easily offended by things that are just nonsense. And the Latinx Latino thing is the same. And it sounds to me like John O'Connor and his Latina, Latino, or Hispanic wife sounds like they're cool people. Sounds like they completely understand it. They get that there is no cultural cachet in the modern day with outrage. Everybody is outraged all the time. You're a huge freaking bore. Stop with your outrage. Nobody cares. What else do we have? My buddy Rob Barr, who is a fantastic human being who does a lot of work for soldiers and veterans. Rob Barr says Latinx, a person of Latin American origin or descent, used as a gender neutral or non-binary alternative to Latino or Latina. Okay. So, non-binary. Oh no, fine with it. Hey, I have a friend who has a non-binary child, and I've known that child my entire life. I don't love that child any less than I did the first time I met him a couple days after he was born. She was born. They were born. Do you see? There is no malice in my heart. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just a human being trying to slog through this mess, not saying something that people are going to be offended by. So please acknowledge that. Acknowledge the effort on many people's part to just do the right thing and don't be so easily outraged. Don't jump out. So Latinx is the new term that we're supposed to apply to Hispanic people because we are no longer allowed to give them gender specific names. And the gender specific names were, if you were a Latino, you were a man. If you were a Latina, you were a woman. So now, because we don't want to offend what I would have to believe is a huge minority of the population. We don't want to offend the non-binary person in that group. So now we have to call everybody Latinx on the off chance that the person we call a Latina self-identifies as a Latino. And you got to be fucking kidding me. Put a gun in my mouth and end it right now. God, nobody's trying to be offensive. Nobody's trying to hurt your feelings. Be tougher. Toughen up. Is this the chickens coming home to roost with the whole participation trophy thing and the helicopter parenting that we went through in the 1990s and the early aughts? Is this what's happening now? Is everybody who is now entering their 20s and 30s who have some position of influence, are they this thin-skinned that now, because there is a, I don't know, very small % chance that the person I just called a Latino self-identifies as a Latino, I have to drop to my knees and beg to save my job? That's where we are. And this is where we are. The noon show here, Pugs Moran Live. You can check us out, as we said before, on any of those platforms that you see streaming there. We're going to wrap this up. Oh, Gary Lewandowski with a plug there in the chat room for Weinberger's Deli and Grapevine. Weinberger's, Dan Weinberger, what a guy. If you've listened to the show, you know the long history that we at the Pugs and Kelly show had with Dan Weinberger and his deli, which I still haven't changed. It's one of the best delis I've ever been to, and it's certainly the best deli in the entire Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And I know because I'm a fat guy who loves delis. And by the way, at the risk of offending a potential sponsor, hey, Jason, that ain't a deli. That is not a deli. That's a cafeteria at best. It is not a deli. Unless there is some guy cutting huge pieces of pastrami, and unless there's unless I can get some good matzo ball soup, or what's a deli? Yeah, there's a place in Chicago. My son and our favorite spot on earth, a place called Manny's Deli. You can be there at lunch and you can get the best pastrami sandwich you've ever had in your life. And it's like this big. You can get that, or you can get a pork chop. You want pork chop with some mashed potatoes? We got that. I mean, that's a deli is like a place that just specializes in really unique things that you can't get anywhere else. And Jason, that's a salad bar. They got salad bars at Wendy's. That is not what constitutes a deli. That is it's so. But Weinberger's in Grapevine is a real deli. It's a real deli. Their sandwiches. He's a sandwich artist. You go there. You can just go there, sit in a booth. You're gonna take about 20 minutes to read the descriptions of all of the sandwiches there. Dan Weinberger has made up all of these sandwiches. I don't know. He's just like a mad genius. He created the Pugs and Kelly sandwich, and I guess that's what they're saying is still on the menu or whatever. That is so great. I got to take my son there because I'm constantly trying to impress my son. My son, unfortunately, was born into this world and has pretty much existed knowing his dad as winging a job. When are you going to do something with the rest of your life? So what is this pretty much it? We're gonna live in these tiny places. We're gonna drive 5-year-old or 10-year-old cars that are out of warranty. Is that where we are? So I'm constantly trying to scoreboard my son or impress him with things that maybe I did 20 years ago, so he doesn't think that I'm a complete waste of life. And taking him to Weinberg's Deli is certainly at the top of the list because I just want to stand there and wait until he sees the sandwich with my name on it. So, dads, come on. It's sort of stuff we do, right? You know what I'm thinking? Yeah. So Weinberg's Deli's out there in Grapevine. It's is it Main Street? I know how to drive there, but I've been gone for the area for so long that I don't exactly remember where it is. Oh, and Gary tells me that they do still have the P&K sandwich on the menu. Well, the P&K sandwich is fine, but there used to be individual sandwiches for both of us. There used to be. Here's what I think happened out there at Weinberg's Deli. I think that the Pugs sandwich was a superior sandwich to the Kelly sandwich. I do. Controversial as that may sound. I remember at the time thinking, oh, I got the good sandwich. Although she probably thought she got the good sandwich because she's a healthy person and not a gluttonous pig like I was. And my sandwich was ridiculously good. I don't even know what it was. It was on, I remember the bun. It was on something called a Kemmelwick bun. And it was almost like not almost like, it was essentially a pretzel. It was like salted and so good. And we used to have our own sandwiches out there. And then they seem to have combined the sandwiches into one. What I think it is I think they took the good one, which was the pug sandwich with the pretzel bun. And I think they just tossed Kelly's with low fat turkey with a little spread of arugula or whatever. It was probably something fancy, something classy, something that was more for Kelly. Mine was the kind of thing that fat guys eat in their car at lunchtime, and it was delicious. So I'm hoping that the P&K sandwich, the combined P&K sandwich, I'm hoping that is still the. Is it? I'm trying to see people there. I don't know. We'll find out because I'm going to take my boy out there really soon. All right, that's going to be it. Couple of hours, right? We've gone through all of the topics. I have spewed now for 2 hours straight. We're going to do this every day at noon. We hope you join us. We hope that you tell people about it. We hope that this is providing some sort of alternative to your talk radio listening options here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I mean, look, the ticket's out there. So the ticket's like, in my opinion, one of the two greatest sports radio stations America has ever created. So I don't blame you. If you want nothing but the sports stuff, that's probably your best bet in this town. But everything else is trash. Everything else is absolute garbage. You want to listen to some syndicated stuff on some old-timey AM station that serves one purpose and one purpose alone, which is to gin you up and get you angry at your neighbor? Go ahead. Be my guest. I don't want you here anyway if that's what you're into. This is for us. This is something that we're going to do every day at noon, and we're going to rally back here at 10 o'clock tonight. And also, if you subscribe to any of the links that you see there on your screen, you will be alerted when breaking news happens, and we come and get you. we'll tell you. We'll tell you what's happening, and we'll jump on, and it's beautiful. I like it. This is fun. Day one, show one is now in the books. Thank you. I am Pugs Moran. This has been Pugs Moran Live on the Radio Misfits Network. And now I awkwardly turn to turn off the stream with nobody's noticing this. Oh, okay.